If you've ever said there ought to be a law, or if you believe that government is the best solution to most of life's problems, I have one question for you. Are you prepared to kill? Every law, no matter how big or small it appears to be, is backed by violent force, and in many cases, death.
Lay off the hyperbole, man. Trying to sound calm and rational doesn't make your question any less absurd. To my knowledge, no one has ever been put to death for speeding, jaywalking, or petty theft. Yet in times of lawlessness, like a riot or anarchy, death seems to be the headline on most news articles. I wonder why. And we're back with round 3. Let's see what we got tonight.
You really want the same people who run the DMV to be in charge of your health care?
So did you guys just give up on asking legitimate questions? Honestly, is this a legitimate question that you have? This has literally turned into the 20 questions asked for ... video on BuzzFeed. And what's your beef with DMV employees? You elitist prick. They deal with assholes like you 40 hours a week for shitty pay, and yet if you treat them like human beings, they're perfectly happy to help you out. Jesus, fuck, what a bitchy question.
Why is it that you prefer anti-discrimination laws which force those who hate other races to hide that prejudice and make money off of those other races, to a system where they could be open about said prejudice and lose money?
Thank you for a real question. I have never understood this myself. If they don't want to bake a cake for a gay wedding, they shouldn't have to bake a cake for a gay wedding. Someone else will. It does become a confusing issue, however, when there's only one store in the town that makes cakes. And honestly, I don't have an answer for you.
You guys often say that libertarians have too much faith in the goodness of people. Why then do you, in the same breath, argue that I give up my right to bear arms and entrust my personal safety to police in gun-free zones? That seems like pretty strong faith in human nature to me.
In this instance, we are putting our faith in a group of individuals whose job it is to protect and serve us. We don't want everyone running around with a gun taking justice any way they see fit. Police officers have strict protocols to follow. They are monitored by the officials we elect to ensure that they are fulfilling their job requirements, not taking the law into their own hands. They self-monitor. For the police, they have the internal affairs. The FBI has the Office of Professional Responsibility. We have faith in a system that has overwatch and scrutiny. Some refer to this as trust but verify. I trust the police to act within their assigned roles, because if they don't, there are individuals who will hold them accountable for their actions. So yes, I have more faith in the police force than I do in every individual seeking justice for themselves.
Status, since the war on drugs has been an absolute failure, what makes you think a war on guns would be any different?
And we're back with some more BuzzFeed crap. When you ask statists a question like this, there will be a million different answers, and because you loaded the question with your personal opinion of the situation, it becomes even more skewed. I don't believe we need a war on guns. What I believe we need is to enforce the Second Amendment properly. Civilians in the militia can bear arms for that purpose. I don't believe in the war on drugs. I think the government steps way over the line there. But you don't have to be a staunch anarcho-capitalist or anarcho-communist or any of that bullshit to understand that fact.
Can you morally justify the federal government preventing a small territory from seceding from a larger country?
Yes, I can. And if you'd like to give me a more specific question, I'll give you a more specific answer.
How is me writing down "I'm in charge" and then getting 20 friends to sign it any different from the drafting of the Constitution?
It's not. Feel free to do so. And when I get 30 of my friends to sign a piece of paper saying I'm in charge, we're going to come kick your ass, break all your stuff, burn your community to the ground, and then piss on the ashes. Now that's the anarcho way.
If roads are so complicated and magical that they can only be built by governments, then why do they hire private companies to actually build the eh? The fucking roads!
Governments pay for the roads to be built because no one else will. Privatizing all infrastructure isn't feasible. For a more comprehensive answer, look to part 2 of this series, where I answer this exact same hypothetical situation which invokes the tragedy of the commons.
Why is every logical explanation we provide about how something will work just pure speculation, while any doomsday scenario you pull out of your ass about anarchism is absolute truth?
Let's take a look at some common present-day anarchical societies. Oh wait, there are none. Why? Because they are ticking time bombs waiting to explode.
How highly do you think of yourself that you think it's your right to impose your views on people you've never met and tell them it's good for them?
Once again, government isn't a perfect solution. It's the best one we have. And yes, that includes the anarcho-drivel you spout.
Listen to this ridiculousness. We protect our president with guns, but our children with paper gun-free zone signs. Congress has a 9% approval rating. Government can't even balance a budget. We are about to reach a $20 trillion debt. Social Security and Medicare and other socialist policies are unsustainable. The drug war kills more people than drugs itself. How can you say government is effective?
Government, not perfect. Still better than anarchy.
Now, to the status of the left and right, who are constantly against free trade and promoting protectionism and warlike foreign trade policies, why is it that you think trade between nation states is any different from trade between states in the U.S., between Vermont and New Hampshire or Georgia and Mississippi, which we understand is a good thing because it broadens the division of labor and makes everybody better off? Why do you not see that that's also true internationally? And why do you think a solution to this non-problem is to raise taxes on the American people?
Why are you incapable of asking one question without conflating the issue with your personal opinion? And why do you ask two separate questions that don't even relate to each other and make it sound like they do? Trade between Georgia and Texas doesn't require the level of control, oversight, and scrutiny because Georgia and Texas both operate on the same relative playing field. They follow the same human rights and environmental laws. If Texas were to start trading with China, they could acquire raw materials and finished goods and services at a lower financial cost, but would contribute to perpetuating human rights violations and environmental disasters. The system you advocate creates a race to the bottom, where foreign countries are encouraged to adopt slave labor systems and dump their environmental waste into rivers and oceans because it will allow them higher profits. The race to the bottom principle is a well-known phenomenon in Keynesian economics, so you would think that someone who pretends to be as smart as you would have already known this.
When an individual's moral conscience conflicts with the commands and rules of lawmakers and law enforcers, is an individual morally obligated to do what they believe to be wrong simply to obey the law?
Why didn't you guys let Adam ask more questions? This is a really interesting hypothetical situation. For instance, if someone feels morally obligated to mutilate their daughter's genitals so she remains a virgin, should they not mutilate her genitals simply to follow the law? And if somebody feels morally obligated to kill their daughter because they don't feel that she has presented herself in a chaste and virtuous way, should they ignore their personal morality and not kill her because of the law? I don't know. It's an interesting question.
You keep saying I have to be moral by voting for a lesser evil this year. Could you please explain how any kind of evil is ever moral?
This is another political philosophy versus political reality question. Philosophy only gets you so far. I've also never tried to dictate your morality, and I don't believe that the government should be able to dictate morality. My question to you is, if you only had two choices and both were bad, which would you choose? The lesser of two evils? And if you have more than two choices, why not try picking a third, like supporting a libertarian candidate, or moving somewhere that has no evil?
Given my first question to right-wingers and my second to left-wingers, comparing drug rights, which half of you advocate, and gun rights, which the other half of you advocate, it seems to me that there are two possible compromises. Either we go full authoritarian and none of you get what you want, or we go full libertarian and you can both have what you want. Which sounds more appealing to you? And given that answer that you gave, don't you think there are one or two other issues we could apply this reasoning to?
This loaded question sets up a false dichotomy in an intellectually dishonest attempt to get you to make a snap decision. There are more than two options than one extreme or the other. Some individuals, like myself, want increased gun regulations and decreased drug regulations, yet that doesn't seem to be an option. I suppose if you're going to make a BuzzFeed-style video, you might as well do it right. Treat the audience like they're too stupid to see the flaws in the question, then sit back smugly and smile. Well, folks, we made it all the way through this disaster, and all in all, I was really disappointed. There were some truly amazing questions to be found, but they packed in so much crap around it that we now literally have to shovel through shit to get at what's worthwhile. Like BuzzFeed, many of the questions were just reworded versions of previous questions. Many of the questions were intellectually dishonest by establishing false premises, asking loaded questions, or creating false dichotomies. In the end, this was an attempt to be edgy and clever, not a genuine endeavor to open a dialogue and actually discuss these questions. So, as always, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. But most importantly, have a great night. Lay off the hyperbole, man. Trying to sound calm and rational doesn't make your question any less absurd. To my knowledge, no one has ever been put to death for speeding, jaywalking, or petty theft. Yet in times of lawlessness, like a riot, death seems to be headline news on most news articles. I wonder why.